15 accountants crashed, but the poor delivery girl revealed a secret that changed everything. In a city pulsing with secrets, the unthinkable happened. 15 accountants crashed their pristine, black SUV into the old diner on the corner of Maple and 5th. It was mid-afternoon, and the sun hung low, casting eerie shadows over the broken glass that crunched beneath hurried footsteps. The diner, a relic from a forgotten era, stood firm against the chaos, its red and white awning flapping in the breeze like a war banner. Inside, the sudden explosion of glass and metal sent patrons screaming, their faces painted with horror as the dust settled like a thick fog over the shocked crowd. But amidst the panic and chaos, a young delivery girl named Cassie stood frozen, her heart racing like a drum in her chest. The sight of the wrecked vehicle, smoke curling into the sky, seemed almost surreal. Cassie had just delivered a pile of cheeseburgers, with the savory smell still lingering in the air. Now, she was staring at the crumpled heap of steel and the confused expressions of the accountants, faces pale as ghosts. What had they been doing? Why were they all together? The diners whispered, their eyes darting from the wreckage to Cassie, as if she held the key to understanding this bizarre crash. Cassie's eyes widened as she caught something glimmering beneath the wreckage, a glint of gold that was out of place in the jagged chaos. Curiosity gnawed at her, she had to know what it was. As the crowd parted, she moved closer, her breath hitching at the sight of a small, ornate box half buried in the dirt. It was no ordinary box. Symbols adorned its surface, shadows flickering and dancing, as if alive under the dim diner light. What was it doing here? What secrets did it hold? Just then, a low whisper rippled through the onlookers, caught off guard by her brave approach to the mysterious object. "What's inside?" murmured a man, his voice barely audible. Tension hung thick in the air, the promise of secrets just out of reach. Inside her, a tight knot of anticipation built as she reached for the box. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Cassie's fingers brushed the cold surface, and in that moment, the din around her faded. Everything felt suspended, her heart thudded louder than ever. The crackers of glass beneath her shoes were nothing but whispers. Suddenly, a woman in the crowd gasped, eyes wide as she recognized the box. That's the ancient family heirloom," she cried, but her voice was drowned out by the surge of chaos surrounding them. What did it mean? How did it connect to the accountants? As Cassie grasped the box, questions flooded her mind, heated whispers encircled her like a tempest, and behind her, the groans of the wounded accountants pierced the air. What dark truth was unfolding? And could this delivery girl decipher the mysteries that even the most elite accountants had hidden away? Cassie felt the weight of the box in her palm, its cool surface seeming to pulse with energy under her fingers. She could sense the curiosity radiating from the crowd, their eyes like 1,000 questions. What was inside? What was the connection to those accountants sprawled on the diner floor, their breaths shallow and labored? The whispers grew louder, a chorus of anxiety hanging in the air, fear mingled with intrigue. "Get back! Let her through!" a voice cried out, breaking through the murmur. It was a stout man with glasses, muscles straining against the fabric of his shirt. He pushed past the onlookers to reach Cassie, determination etched on his face. "We need to find out what this is." She met his gaze, a flicker of trust sparking her resolve. "Do you know it?" Cassie asked, her voice trembling slightly. Her heart raced faster, spinning her thoughts like a chaotic whirlwind. "I've seen symbols like this before," he said, glancing at the box with a mix of fear and reverence. "They're ancient. They could lead to something powerful or dangerous." Dangerous? The word echoed in her mind like an alarm. Cassie hesitated. Could she really face whatever secrets this box held? The crowd swelled further, their anticipation seeping through the gaps in the chaos. She could hear the soft cries of the wounded, the scorched scent of burnt rubber mixing with the greasy aroma of burgers. And then, suddenly, sirens screamed to life. The sound sliced through the tension, a reminder that help was on its way, though Cassie felt conflicted. What if the box contained something that could change everything? What if we open it? She asked, her heart grappling with the possibility of discovery or devastation. The man's eyes widened, a battle of fear and excitement raging within him. Maybe it's too late to turn back, girl, he murmured, his gaze darting from the box to the accountants. Their lives might depend on it. Cassie looked down at the box, sensing the weight of 100 eyes watching her. She took a deep breath, steadying her trembling hands, and slowly opened the lid. A glow poured out, warm and inviting, illuminating the frayed edges of her doubt. Inside lay a shimmering object, radiating light that danced between the crowd like sunlight breaking through the storm clouds. Everyone gasped. Then, in a heartbeat, the lights dimmed. The glow flickered, smothered by a sudden wave of darkness. Cassie's heart sank as an electric surge coursed through the air, making her skin prickle. The accounts, their fate was intricately entwined, and she was now part of something much bigger than herself. Screams erupted as shadows twisted and climbed around them, the box trembling in her hands. She felt panic rip through her, but amidst the chaos, something clicked. Was there a key to uncover this hidden truth? What did you do? A woman cried, clutching her child tighter. Cassie's mind raced. I don't know. From behind her, a figure moved, one of the accountants, pale and bleeding, but standing. His eyes bore into hers with a desperate intensity. Stop. You have to close it. We can't let it out. The air thickened with dread, and Cassie's breath caught in her throat. What had she unleashed? But as she looked into the eyes of the wounded accountant, she realized that the box held more than just danger. It contained the key to salvation or destruction. As the shadows danced wildly around them, she gripped the box tighter. What would she choose? One final scream pierced the chaos as something began to crawl from within the box, eager to break free. What was it? And what did it mean for Cassie and the world beyond? Time hung suspended as she braced herself for the unknown. The darkness swirled, creeping in like a predator hungry for its meal. Cassie's heart raced, pounding insistently in her chest as she gripped the box tighter. The accountant's eyes shone with fear, a mix of desperation and something else, a knowledge that weighed over him like a stone. Close it! He shouted again, his voice trembling with urgency. But Cassie was frozen, mesmerized by the shadows weaving around her feet, clawing at her ankles, hungry for release. The crowd surged, stepping back from the box as the thick darkness pooled like ink at their feet. Panic was palpable. People shouted, pushed against each other as they scrambled for safety, eyes wide with terror. Is it a demon? A curse? Someone yelled, their voice sharp with hysteria. Cassie! You have to do something. The man implored, his glasses slipping down his nose as he stepped closer, completely disregarding his own safety. If it gets out, there's no telling what could happen. His words penetrated the haze of fear surrounding her. The shadows curled like smoke, forming shapes that rippled and shifted. Cassie's breath quickened, her palms clammy against the cool, smooth surface of the box. Time was slipping away. I can't just close it. She gasped, realizing that for her to shut the lid, she would need to confront whatever lay within. What if there's a way to control it? What if it's the key to saving them? Or to their doom? He spat back, panic etched on his features. The wavering lights from the box illuminated the determination in his eyes, but it was mixed heavily with dread. Listen to me, girl. The symbols, these are not just decorations. They bind something here. Something malicious. If you don't shut it now, it could break free and bring darkness to the world. A shriek cut through the air, bringing Cassie's focus back to the scene around her. She noticed more people were falling into disarray. The accountants still on the ground writhed, their own personal shadows occupying their spaces, stealing their light. The thought of collateral damage rocketed through her. Were they suffering because of her? Do it for them. The accountant yelled, grabbing her arm with a sweaty palm. Please. Cassie glanced back at the box. The strange glow pulsed again, beckoning her. It was tantalizing and terrifying all at once. What if this was the moment that changed everything? She could either wield the secret of the box or let it consume them all. Suddenly, a figure stepped from the shadows, an unfamiliar face with wild eyes and disheveled hair. His voice was hoarse, yet loud enough to pull Cassie's attention. "Don't you see? The power inside can save them. You're destined to wield this, but you must first understand what it truly is." "But what is it?" Cassie pleaded, clutching the box. The growing weight of the moment felt crushing. Could she truly step forward into the unknown? "Only you can discover that," he gasped, his breath coming in sharp bursts. "But the time is running out. Choose, before it chooses for you." The accountant's grip tightened on her arm, desperation giving way to powerlessness. Shadows screamed, deepening the dread that hung over them like a thundercloud. Cassie's mind raced, thoughts spiraling as she faced a tempest of uncertainty. The air crackled around them, an electric tension that pulsed through her veins. What would happen if she embraced the glow or if she turned her back on it? Time felt as though it splintered, each second stretching taut as she made her decision. Would it be bravery leading to salvation, or foolishness that cast them all into darkness? As the shadows lunged closer, she whispered, "I have to know." A guttural growl emanated from the box, rippling through the crowd, swallowing the last remnants of hope. What fate awaited them all as Cassie took the first step into the abyss? Cassie's heart thundered in her ears as the shadows coiled menacingly around her. She felt their coldness, a chill creeping up her spine like icy fingers. The accountant's face was alight with urgency, twisted in a mask of fear that mirrored the dread swelling in her own chest. "Choose!" he screamed, as if amplifying her own torment. The crowd was alive with chaos, screams mingled with the rustling of clothes and the clatter of stumbling feet. A wave of terror rolled through them, and she felt it like a crushing weight on her chest. Every instinct screamed to retreat from the darkness, to push the box away and run, but her feet were rooted to the spot. "I can't let this happen," she thought. Her own internal struggle clashed with the desperate pleas around her. Was she really capable of wielding such power? What if the darkness was the only way to save them? "Cassie!" The accountant's voice burst through her haze, jolting her. "What do you think happens when darkness confronts ignorance? It consumes." The swirl of shadow thickened, gathering at their feet as if promising unfathomable horrors. Cassie's breath hitched. "I have to know." Slowly, tentatively, she lifted the lid of the box, its hinges creaking eerily. Light, warm and engulfing, spilled forth, clashing violently with the encroaching shadows. For a heartbeat, time froze, the air crackling with anticipation. The crowd gasped, eyes wide as the glow pulsed like a heartbeat, pulsating with a strange energy. In that moment, something shifted within her. The shadows recoiled, hissing as if in fear of the light. Cassie's heart soared with a flicker of hope. Perhaps she could steer this darkness away from destruction. Gathering courage, she placed her hands over the glowing surface, feeling its warmth seep into her skin. Instinctively, she closed her eyes, and a tingling sensation coursed through her, alive, electric. Images flooded her mind. A towering figure reached out, shadowy and indistinct, its voice like rolling thunder. "To wield the light, you must embrace the darkness," it whispered. Cassie clenched her fists, overwhelmed. She could almost see the figures of the accountants spiraling into their own grief. Each face, etched with anxiety, urged her to act. Desperation morphed into determination. "I won't let it take them," she vowed, eyes snapping open. With a surge of fierce conviction, she shouted, "I'm not afraid of you." The words erupted from her, strong and unwavering. Instinctively, she began to speak the symbols engraved on the box, her voice resonating with a power that felt both foreign and familiar. The shadows howled, writhing as they pulled away, retreating into the corners of the room where the light dared not tread. The accountants fell silent, their own shadows diminishing, as if liberated from an unseen weight. Cassie felt their relief wash over her, a collective exhale, a flicker of hope. But just as certainty began to bloom in her chest, the tall figure erupted from the light, a specter shrouded in wisps of darkness. Its eyes glowed ominously, more fearsome than any nightmare. The crowd recoiled, another wave of panic crashing forth. Cassie's resolve faltered for a brief moment. Then, she remembered their faces. "I can do this!" she screamed. As the figure approached, it raised an arm, and shadows surged forward, intent on swallowing her whole. The accountant, rallying his strength, shouted, "You're the key, Cassie. Remember who you are." His words flared within her, reigniting that spark of defiance. She had to face it. She had to push through either that or fall to the darkness. In a heartbeat of desperate determination, Cassie stood firm, preparing for a battle of light versus shadow. But as the darkness closed in, she felt the pull of a new revelation. What if the shadows possessed knowledge she never anticipated? What if embracing them was the only way to become truly free? With that thought, she leapt, merging into the swirling chaos. The crowd gasped, fear morphing into curiosity. What weight lay in the shadows, and would the secrets she uncovered lead to redemption or destruction? Cassie plunged into the swirling darkness, her heart racing. There was no turning back now. The air thickened around her, a suffocating embrace of shadow. It wrapped around her ankles, pulling her deeper into the unknown. She felt the weight of the crowd behind her, their collective breath-catching waiting, hoping, fearing. Her mind raced, confronted with flickers of images. It was as if 1,000 windows opened before her, all revealing past failures and ancient truths. She saw mundane places that had once brought her joy, now warped and twisted within the shadow-esque grip. A dappled park in summer, now shrouded in a chilling mist. Children's laughter twisted into shrill cries. Enough! Cassie shouted into the abyss, her voice echoing as fiercely as her will. With every ounce of strength, she pushed back against the shadows, grasping at the fleeting fragments of light that tried to break through. But just then, a cold voice slithered into her consciousness. "Do you truly believe you can control us?" it hissed. A darkness loomed closer, taking the shape of familiar faces, her friends, her family, eyes filled with despair. "You alone can save them, Cassie, but at what cost?" "Stop!" she cried, the sound a desperate wail. The shadows lurched. They weren't just here to feed, they had a purpose. Suddenly, she realized these weren't mere nightmares. They were fragments of truth, pieces of a puzzle that had cracked her world open. A rush of memories flooded in, and she grasped a deeper meaning. They were all tied to her. Every mistake, every misstep painted a fractured landscape that the shadows fed on. "I can't change the past," she murmured, forcing herself to connect to the pulsing light still within her. "But I can change this." A flicker of hope ignited, heating her core. She could feel the light fighting back, its warmth rising within her veins. With a deep breath, Cassie focused on it, gathering strength. She refused to succumb to despair. "You are not my shadows," she declared. "You are part of me." As if answering her plea, the warmth intensified, pushing against the shadows that roared in frustration. They howled, swirling together in chaotic frenzy, the whispers haunting her. But this time, the light pulsed with greater vibrancy, illuminating her surroundings as if to unveil hidden truths. Suddenly, Cassie caught a glimpse of something. The accountant, his face twisted in pain, trapped in shadow-esque clutch as if part of him had been consumed. "I see you," she yelled, recognizing the familiar threads of responsibility that tied him to this darkness. "We can break free together." The shadows hesitated, quivering nervously as they felt the union of their struggle, the strength she summoned. With renewed determination, she stretched her arms out, calling to the others. "Feel the light. Embrace it. We are stronger as one." One by one, the accountants began to stir. Their eyes widened, a spark igniting within them as they awakened from their fear-induced stupor. They joined her, reaching for the warmth of the light, hands connecting. Cassie could feel their fear merging into courage, all of them pushing against the tide together, illuminating the dark. But then, through the illumination, she saw something terrifying, a shadow looming larger than the rest. Looming over them, the specter had transformed into a monstrous being, dark and blotted with malice. "You think you can shine under my reign?" it roared, its voice like the crack of thunder, filled with rage. The light flickered, threatening to dim. In a surge of primal instinct, Cassie understood this was not merely a battle of light and darkness, it was a battle for the very soul of her collective spirit. Would they fold? Would fear win, or could they harness even the deepest shadows as allies? With a fierce glance at the accountants, she channeled her inner strength. "We don't fight alone," Cassie screamed, bracing for the force about to collide with them, and then she leapt into the fray, hands outstretched, ready to stand her ground against the monstrous specter. But what if the darkness had one final, terrifying revelation in store for them all? Then everything went black. Cassie felt a rush of freezing air whip around her as she plunged into the darkness. It was no longer just shadows wrapping around her, it felt alive, as if the void itself were clawing at her skin. Panic swelled within her. Where was the light? She wanted to scream, but the sound choked in her throat, swallowed by the thick veil surrounding her. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. Was it seconds or hours? All she knew was that the vast emptiness pressed against her, weighing her down. The specter loomed above, shifting and writhing like a dark ocean ready to engulf her whole. A flash of dread struck Cassie. Did she leap into a battle she couldn't win? Cassie, the cold voice slithered out once more, echoing chillingly in the void. You're nothing without your darkness. You need us. You've created us. No! Cassie shouted, her voice barely making an impact in the vastness. She didn't know how to fight such overpowering despair. She thought about the accountants around her, how they had filled their lives with numbers and structure, desperate not to face their own shadows. But now, they felt so small, so far away. Just then, as if receiving her thoughts, the darkness quaked, revealing a familiar face within it. The accountant, his features twisting in agony, reached out. For a moment, Cassie could see the flicker of light in his eyes, the hope she had lit in their collective struggle, but the specter laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that shook her core. You think you can save them? It paused, the darkness swirling around, revealing more faces, friends, family, each burdened with their own guilt. They are a part of you. Embrace it. Suddenly, a heavy weight smashed into her chest. Doubt flooded her mind, whispering treacherous thoughts. What if the darkness was right? What if every shadow she fought was indeed a part of her? It clawed at her, threatening to undo everything she had built in that moment of defiance, but then, that fleeting warmth resurfaced. The light inside her blazed a small, yet potent fire in the storm of shadows. As it expanded, she felt an urge to share it. You're not alone. Cassie cried out. Together, we can face this. It was a lifeline, a moment of truth piercing through the despair. The accountants started to stir again. Their faces, once consumed by gloom, now rose with a fragile flicker of hope. Join me. Cassie reached her hands into the void once more, connecting their spirits. One by one, they began to lift their gaze, slowly embracing the warmth she offered. But the specter howled with fury, the shadows rushing to extinguish the light. Cassie gasped as the darkness surged forward, a wave of agony threatening to snuff out their flickering connection. Just then, a sudden cry pierced through a voice familiar from the edges of her memories. Cassie! We can't let them take you. It was the delivery girl, her face illuminated by an ethereal glow, standing resolute at the brink of the shadow. Stay back! Cassie called out, the fear gripping her heart again, but the girl stood her ground. You don't understand. I carry the truth they fear. What truth? Cassie shouted desperately as the shadows closed in on her once more. They don't want you to know your power. The girl insisted, her voice steady against the chaos. If you embrace everything, the light and the darkness, you become more than just yourself. In that moment, Cassie felt a surge, a tumultuous storm of fear and courage. Was it true? Could she really harness what they feared? But just as the understanding began to dawn, the specter lunged forward, a tempest of shadows engulfing them. The room spun wildly, and an overwhelming sensation pulled her in multiple directions. She had to find her resolve before it slipped away. Cassie steadied her breath, searching for clarity amidst the chaos. I will embrace all of me. She shouted, her voice fierce and unwavering, but as the shadows continued to swirl, their ultimate truth still evaded her grasp. Would the delivery girl's revelation change everything, or was it too late to find out? And then, just like that, the void brightened suddenly, pulling Cassie into a blinding white light. What was waiting on the other side? Only time would tell. Cassie felt her body surge forward, dragged by the light that enveloped her like a warm embrace. It was disorienting. She had expected harshness but instead found herself in an oddly serene space filled with shimmering wisps of luminescence. The familiar faces from the darkness flitted on the edges of her vision, lost yet strangely ethereal. Where were they? Did they follow her into this new world? Her heart raced in her chest. A soft, melodic voice floated through the air. You are here, Cassie. You found the light. The delivery girl stepped into the brilliance, her expression radiant yet insistent. You embraced it before the shadows could take you fully. Is this real? Cassie whispered, mingling with disbelief. What happens to all of us now? The girl's face softened, the glow around her shifting like a gentle wave. This realm is where you confront the truth. The darkness will always exist, but here, you will discover the power to shape it, to channel it. Cassie took a tentative step forward, where shadows receded into the corners, wary of the light. She thought of the accountants, their faces lined with worry and despair. But what about them? They were lost in that void. They thought they couldn't face their shadows. They can, Cassie, the girl assured her. But you must first accept your own darkness. Only then can you guide them to do the same. As the delivery girl spoke, the light around them deepened, pulsing with energy that resonated within Cassie. Her thoughts churned. What if she had to face her deepest fears? The guilt over her mistakes? The insecurities that plagued her? Embrace everything you are. The girl insisted, urging Cassie to remain present. The fear it fuels your power. Use it. Cassie nodded, although doubt crept up as a chill in her spine. Could she wield the very thing that haunted her? Just then, a rush of images flooded her mind, memories of times she had felt inadequate, screaming friends, pleading co-workers, moments of isolation. Tears welled in her eyes. Did they feel this too? As she focused on those memories, Cassie suddenly felt their weight shift from oppression to understanding. This is your strength, the girl interrupted gently. You are not just the light, and you are not just the darkness. You are both, and that's what makes you formidable. The realization sent a ripple of energy coursing through her. She could feel the shadows lingering at her edges, no longer suffocating her but curling around her like smoke, thick, tangible, yet not malevolent. Cassie! A voice echoed in the shimmering space. She whipped around to see the accountant she had encouraged earlier. His face was now calm, free of the torment she had seen before. You did it! He cried, stepping toward her, his own light flickering into existence. Others emerged behind him, forming a gathering born from their shared struggles, their faces shining. Assured, they walked forward, not with fear but with quiet confidence. Well, look at that. They believed, the delivery girl smiled, glancing at Cassie. But the real test awaits. Cassie's heart dropped as their surroundings vibrated with a disquieting energy. What do you mean? Beyond the light lies the ultimate confrontation with your shadows, the delivery girl explained. You've lit a spark, Cassie. Now, you'll face your past, not just for yourself but for them. Be ready, for they'll try to pull you back. And right then, the shimmering light began to dissolve, revealing a vast, swirling vortex, darkness weaving in and out like a ravenous beast, waiting to consume once more. Cassie felt the terror crawl back into her throat, coupled with the resolve she had forged. What if I fail? She shrieked above the growing chaos. The delivery girl placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You won. Remember, you're not alone, Cassie. You are the light, and the darkness is merely a part of you. Stand strong. As her world twisted, Cassie inhaled deeply, summoning the courage she had discovered, ready to confront the shadows that threatened to engulf her once again. But as she took her first step into the vortex, she was left wondering, could she confront her ultimate truth, or would the darkness consume her once and for all? The vortex roared around her like a wild storm, and Cassie felt the heat of the light flicker within her, battling against the chill of the dark. The swirling mass taunted her, whispering promises of failure and despair. She couldn't see the delivery girl anymore, lost in the swirling chaos. I have to do this, she murmured to herself, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. The darkness loomed closer, its tendrils reaching out, brushing against her skin, threatening to pull her in. Images morphed and twisted in the shadows: her mother's disappointed gaze, her boss's harsh words during a review, the laughter of friends who had turned their backs. Each memory ignited a fresh wave of anxiety that surged around her. Cassie squeezed her eyes shut, trying to ground herself, grasping at the wisps of light still glowing at her center. "You can do this. You must do this." The words echoed in the vast emptiness around her, but would they be enough? Taking another deep breath, she opened her eyes and focused. "What do you want from me?" she shouted into the abyss, anger replacing fear for the first time. "I've already faced my past." But the darkness didn't respond, it simply wrapped tighter, pressing cold against her resolve. In the depths of that swirling void, something flickered, a memory that wasn't hers. It glowed with a familiar vitality, almost beckoning. Was it a reminder? A warning? Her heart raced as she felt it draw closer. Eyes wide, she realized it was the accountant again, his voice rising above the roar. "You don't have to face this alone. Together!" Cassie screamed, sensing his unwavering support bolstering her strength. The image of his calm face cut through her fears, and she felt warmth spread through her as others emerged from the suffocating darkness. One by one, they joined her, forming a circle of light that pushed back against the consuming shadows. "I know your fear," the accountant shouted, hands outstretched towards Cassie. "But we can face it together." And together they began to push back. Cassie summoned each moment of pain, every ounce of dread, and flickered them before the gathering. "Light will win," she declared, channeling the collective energy. It was like pouring gasoline on a fire. The darkness hissed and writhed, unable to match their combined strength, but then the shadows shifted, revealing monstrous forms lurking just beneath the surface. They twisted with deceitful eyes, hard and hollow, mocking their brave front. "Your light is weak. You cannot escape." Cassie felt panic clawing at her heart, but it was too late to turn back. All those faces, her friends, her colleagues, stood beside her, faithful beacons shining brightly. She realized then that every piece of their past built the strength they needed. "Together, we are powerful," she roared, her voice drowning out the chaos. As their combined will surged, the light intensified, forcing the darkness back, but not without a cost. Her own shadows danced at the edge of her perception, memories clawing up from deep within, regrets, fears, and the guilt she had buried. For a fleeting moment, she pondered if they could be used against her, but somewhere deep inside, she felt the shift. "No. They are part of me. I will not be defined by them." Just then, the swirling darkness erupted as a figure emerged, a towering silhouette with piercing eyes that locked onto her with haunting familiarity. It grinned, a sickening smile that felt too close, too personal. "You think you can escape, Cassie? I am your greatest fear." Cassie's stomach dropped. The darkness pulsed and heaved, as if savoring her reaction. "No. I won't let you control me," she retorted, adrenaline surging through her veins. The accountant's voice resonated once more. "You're not just fighting for yourself. They need you. We need you." The ground beneath them trembled, shadows rippling like liquid, and Cassie's determination ignited. "Then let us show this darkness who we are." With that, she lunged forward, but the beast inched closer, its eyes fixed on her, eager for the strike. What would happen if she surrendered? How far could her courage take her against a past determined to pull her back down into the gloom? The vortex roared as she plunged deeper in, feeling the weight of her choices hanging precariously in balance. Cassie's heart thundered as she hurtled toward the looming figure. The darkness roared behind her, a monstrous wind threatening to sweep her away any second. But with every step, the warmth of her companions surged around her, amplifying her resolve. "Keep pushing," the accountant urged, his voice a lifeline amid the chaos. "Remember who you fight for." Each footfall vibrated against the ground, a rhythmic drum that pulsed with determination. But the beast loomed closer, eyes glinting with wicked delight. "You think you can fight me? I am your past," it hissed, its voice a venomous whisper curling around her thoughts. Cassie gritted her teeth. "You do not define me." She felt the light within her flare, not just her own, but every flicker from the friends surrounding her. Together, they formed a radiant wall against the suffocating shadows. Suddenly, a tremor rippled through the ground, making Cassie stumble. The darkness surged forward, hungry and wild. "Together? You're weak alone. It thrived on her hesitation, its grip tightening like a noose. Panic surged as fear clawed at her throat, almost choking her resolve. No! She cried out, forcing herself to remain steady. We are all gathered, our fears don't define us. She raised a hand, calling on the energy of her companions who stood steadfast against the encroaching gloom. We are more. With that declaration, she felt the pull of memories, a rush of sorrow, anger, and regret. But this time, she didn't shy away. She embraced them, letting them fuel her. In an explosive burst of light, the memories transformed into shimmering sparks, shooting out toward the darkness. The shadows recoiled, writhing in surprise as Cassie led the way. She was no longer a solitary flicker, she was a constellation of bravery brightening the void. Each spark ignited a fierce flame that flickered across the chaos, pushing the darkness back inch by inch. The beast shrieked, its form contorting in agony. You cannot extinguish me! It roared, but desperation seeped into its cold voice. Cassie felt a shift of fear she had locked away deep within her. I see you! She shouted, swiping a hand through the air, forcing the pain into the open. You are just a memory, nothing more. With all her might, she plunged forward. Light streamed from her, an insurmountable force against the looming figure. The shadow yanked back, losing its grip on the swirling vortex. Cassie's heart raced with adrenaline, fierce and intoxicating. Every ounce of her being screamed to not back down, but amid the triumph, she noticed the blackened shadows forming a barrier. They screamed and twisted, their forms growing restless. Cassie's heart dropped. The darkness was merely regrouping. If she faltered, it would consume everything. Then, from the corner of her eye, she caught a flicker. Was it the delivery girl? Cassie squinted through the chaos, and the girl's familiar face emerged from the shadows, haloed in light. Cassie! She shouted. You need to know the truth. I have what you're looking for. What are you talking about? Cassie called, confusion mixing with desperation. We need to hold this ground. Listen. The key to your power lies in your acceptance. The delivery girl's voice rose above the storm. You were never alone. You always had the strength to conquer this. Cassie's mind raced. Accepting her past, her mistakes, could it be the final piece she needed? The darkness swirled more violently, aware of the shift in momentum. Quickly! The accountant pressed. Embrace everything, your fears, your joys, your failures. Oh, them! Cassie took a deep breath, her heart steadying. She felt the heaviness lift as light poured into her chest, illuminating every dark corner. I am more than my fears. She roared, confronting the shadow once more. But just then, the beast lunged, teeth bared, ripping through the remaining light. As darkness threatened to swallow them whole, was acceptance enough to stave off the inevitable? Would she find the real power within herself before it was too late? The vortex howled, and Cassie braced herself for what lay ahead. Cassie felt the shadows claw at her as the vortex surged, a dark tide threatening to pull her under. But she heard the accountant's voice cutting through the chaos. Remember who you are. You control your fate, not the darkness. Gathering her scattered thoughts, Cassie gazed into the shadows swirling around her. Each tendril whispered her insecurities, each phantom face taunted her past failures. She could feel her spirit beginning to waver, but the image of her friends facing their fears alongside her fueled her resolve. Together, we are stronger. She shouted, her voice rising above the storm, echoing with empowerment. The light pooling in her chest radiated warmth, spilling out into the encroaching darkness. As she stood tall, Cassie summoned memories of joy and laughter, each one a reminder of who she wanted to be, and who she had been before doubt took hold. She embraced them fully, letting the warmth bloom outward. You do not define me, she declared, eyes blazing. I refuse to let you control my path any longer. The dark beast roared, anger rippling across the vortex. But Cassie felt the pull of acceptance wash over her, infusing her with clarity. The shadows twisted, howling in discontent as they began to recoil. You are only a part of me, Cassie continued, her voice growing steadier. But you don't hold power over me. I accept every piece of myself, the light, the dark, and everything in between. Suddenly, the swirling darkness seemed to falter, collapsing under the weight of her proclamation. Realizing that the paralleling truths of herself illuminated her depth, Cassie felt like she was channeling an unstoppable force. She was anchored by both love and fear, finally understanding that duality was strength, not weakness. With one final surge of determination, she extended her arms, inviting the light and shadow to merge within her. Reflected back. She shouted, "We will rise together." Every ounce of courage surged forth as brilliant rays burst from her fingertips, illuminating the swirling chaos around them. The specter hissed, its form flickering, both powerful and fragile as the light pierced through its darkness. Cassie's heart raced as visions erupted within the beam, a parade of memories, the accountants smiling and laughing. They all stood shoulder to shoulder with her, channeling their fears into something transformative. The shadows writhed and twisted, but the beam of light was relentless. It cascaded over the darkness, devouring it in a tide of brilliance. "This is who we are. Fear and all," she bellowed, finally mastering the chaos around her. The specter screeched, disintegrating into swirling motes of darkness that faded like smoke in sunlight. One by one, the accountants emerged from the past, their expressions turning from despair to hope. They were free. Cassie inhaled sharply, her heart soaring as the reality around her shifted. She found herself back in the diner, the wrecked SUV still smoldering outside, but now the air felt clean, a fresh start teeming with potential. All eyes were drawn to her, the stunned crowd watching in wide-eyed awe. "Easy does it." A familiar voice piped up. It was the delivery girl, stepping back into the scene with a knowing smile. "You did it, Cassie. You faced the shadows collectively." "What, how?" she stammered, confusion colliding with joy. "That light was always inside you," the girl replied, a spark emanating from her fingertips. "You've uncovered it now, and it's your own truth that can guide others through their darkness." The accountants were slowly regaining their footing, helping one another up from the floor. Some even smiled at Cassie, eyes shimmering with gratitude. "We owe you everything," one of them murmured, wiping a tear from his cheek. "You brought us back." Suddenly, the diner filled with warmth and light, the shadows banished, replaced by a sense of community. Amidst the wreckage, uncertainty melted away. Cassie realized they would no longer shy away from facing their truths together. As they shared stories of their past fears and weaknesses, laughter echoed, filling the diner with a sense of hope. Cassie beamed as she looked at the delivery girl. She had once been a stranger, but now she personified the pivotal force that had ignited change in not just her life, but in the lives of so many other souls. Embracing her bright future unconditionally, Cassie turned to the onlookers, her heart full. "The journey doesn't end here, it's just the beginning," she declared with confidence. "Together, we face every shadow, every fear." And as the crowd erupted in applause, Cassie felt an overwhelming rush of relief cut through her chest. This time, the past would always be a piece of her story, but it would no longer dictate her journey. She was ready to lead them into the light together, but before she could lose herself in the moment, she shot a glance toward the camera, urgency sparking fresh determination. If this story resonated with you, you need to subscribe now. Don't let yourself miss the next exclusive tales. Hit that red button immediately. Smash the like button now to pump up that algorithm and let others know this story matters. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. And for the ultimate support, instinctively share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this journey of light. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Remember, only true fans can keep this fire burning bright for all the stories yet to come.